Hello there, Star Wars Paul here. It's time to review The Mandalorian and Grogu. I saw it on Sunday and I wanted to give you my full thoughts. First, I want to give my spoiler-free impressions, and then for those of you who've already seen it, please join me for the spoiler section. Alright, with that out of the way, let's start. So what did I think of the movie? If you saw the short I posted, then you'll know I actually enjoyed it. I was surprised that I liked it as much as I did, to be honest. Even if you watched my video I made about it, pre-release, then you'll know I had my doubts, so I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was a fun adventure worth the 2 hours I spent watching it. To me, it felt like something George Lucas would have made maybe in the 80s. All the characters were decent overall. Mando felt like a big deal again, taking centre stage. Season 3 really made a mistake by pretty much sidelining him in his own show. I enjoyed seeing some other characters too, like Embo and Zeb. Embo and Marek, the Anuba, not the Inquisitor, returning from the Clone Wars, was cool. Just a quick point regarding Zeb, he got more screen time than I was expecting too, which is really nice. The story moved along at a good pace. I never once felt bored or that something was super off during the 2-hour runtime. Maybe Disney makes decent Star Wars movie when they're not screwing with the lore, right? The effects were, on the whole, decent. I liked some of the puppets and the CGI looked alright. I saw some people saying that it was as bad or worse than the special edition's 90s CGI, but I don't think it was that bad. Maybe if I was to pick a fault with the effects, it's that a lot of the time it was pretty dark, like they were trying to hide some of the weaker effects, and they were in there. It was in that weird middle ground of better than a TV show, but worse than a big budget movie. Didn't bother me that much though, so I can let it slide. It wasn't perfect by any means though, so let's talk about what I thought was not so great. I think we all probably know that it's basically a condensed season 4 of the TV show, and structurally, it definitely feels that way. I wonder if the original plan was indeed to make a season 4, or if this was always envisioned as a movie. If you know, let me know in the comments. Each part of the story felt like an episode of the TV show. While that works on Disney+, it feels a little jarring when the tone shifts abruptly in the movie theatre. And while I said the story moves along at a good pace, I didn't think the substance was all that great. It felt very safe and by the numbers. Mando and Grogu are essentially doing side quests. As I'm sure you've heard, there really aren't any greater ties to the wider Star Wars lore, so if you're going to go into this expecting some huge revelations, you'll be disappointed. Flat character arcs are okay in some media, but here it felt minimal at best and non-existent at worst. Speaking of character development, someone I want to single out is Sigourney Weaver's character, which was very disappointing, but I'll get into that a bit later. I didn't like the music very much either. The Mandalorian theme is good and all, but the other tracks felt either out of place or... I know why they use dance music for a particular scene, but for me it just doesn't work in Star Wars. Maybe it's fine in a TV show, but not in the cinema. But music's subjective. If you liked it, let me know in the comments. Okay, so now it's time to elaborate and talk about spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, and don't want to know specific details, please come back later. Okay, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. First, I want to talk about which parts of the movie I thought were the strongest. And the strongest part would be the opening mission where Mando and Grogu are chasing an Imperial officer across a snowy planet. The walker scene was pretty fun, but what I really liked was the carnage Mando caused when he got inside the AT-ATs. Mando was brutal here, taking out stormtroopers left and right and centre. The use of his flamethrower was surprisingly graphic. Seeing stormtroopers on fire was not something I was expecting to see. The fight choreography for this part felt right out of something like John Wick. It was very action heavy, very fast, and I liked it. It was a satisfying action scene, and it really reminded me of season 1 when the show was more gritty, which is a good thing. I thought Mando was going to be like a really dark, gritty take on the underworld in Star Wars. It wasn't. Well, not really anyway. This part got me and put my mind at ease a little, because I was expecting Disney to really focus on Grogu, knowing how popular he still is with a wider audience. But we definitely start with Mando leading, which is how it should be. His name's first in the title. As I said earlier, Disney loves to sideline main characters in their own shows, which is super annoying. Looking at you, Boba Fett. I think the first half of the movie is predominantly Mando focused, which is good, and there seems to be a focus on him keeping his helmet on. There is only one specific scene I can think of where it's removed, and that's when the Hutt twins remove it to shame him after he's been captured. They're super proud of themselves for that, but I found it odd that Mando doesn't mention the removal of his helmet is fine where he comes from. We did kind of establish that in, was it season 3? Or even season 2, I forget which one. Although I guess him threatening to kill everyone who sees his face is more badass. Speaking of the Hutts, I liked Rotter. Seeing a buff Hutt was weird at first, but I got used to it. Then again, seeing the Hutts fighting at the end was goofy as hell, in what I think was supposed to be a serious battle. I guess there's just no way to not make it look silly. Not sure about Rotter's voice though. Hearing him with that, I guess it was a New York accent, was a bit off-putting. I did get used to it, but same with the other Hutts. Switching from Huttese to Galactic Basic felt really weird. If it was me, I'd have had all the Hutts speaking Huttese, even Rotter, all of the time. It keeps them menacing and mysterious. It is a good subversion to see a nice Hutt though. Rotter wanting to escape the shadow of his father Jabba is nice motivation, and the friendship he creates with Grogu is cute, and it builds up to a nice payoff with Grogu using the Force to save Rotter from the dragon snake in the final battle, which I thought was a really cool moment. It's nice when we get a payoff. On the subject of the dragon snake, I thought it looked good. Nice to see one again. The first time we ever saw one was in Empire Strikes Back, where one tried to eat R2-D2 on Dagobah. And the last time we saw one, I think, was in the Clone Wars, trying to eat Obi-Wan. The Hutt's other minions were cool as well. Lots of battle droids, so that's a nice throwback to the prequels. I especially like that droid pilot with the red head. Reminded me of Mr. Bones, a crazy droid built by Snap Wexley. I wonder if the similarities were intentional. I said earlier that I liked Embo and Marok, but I just wish there was more of them. The scene at Mando's house where they first show up is great. The rain really adds to the intimidating presence. I like that Marok snapped out of Grogu's beast control as soon as his master needed him. His loyalty is stronger than Grogu's force powers, I guess. The other thing I got a kick out of was when they saw the dragon snake and noped out. He wasn't getting paid enough to take that beast on. Never trust a bounty hunter. Or as that Imperial officer says in Empire Strikes Back, bounty hunter scum. I'm guessing though that the Hutts were too big to get through that hole, which I think was created by Grogu earlier when he saved Mando with the thermal detonator. You'd think they'd fixed it, but oh well, I guess not. I was also kind of hoping Grogu would hijack one of the big droids and use it as power armor or something, but he just climbed inside and messed with the wires randomly. Regarding Grogu, I thought he was good in this movie. A little uneven maybe, jumping between making lots of mistakes and being super useful as the plot needed, but I didn't really mind it. I thought it would be a lot worse and overplayed for laughs, but they resisted. Honestly, I hate it when they insert Marvel-style humour into Star Wars, which generally I don't find funny anyway, and it doesn't really suit Star Wars in my opinion. I enjoyed the parts where he had to help Mando after being poisoned by the dragon snake. Those were cute. It shows he really cares for his dad. I think he really got to use what Luke taught him, and his connection to the Force keeps growing. Using his power doesn't seem to tire him out so much like it used to. I liked his little team up with the Anzellans. I'm sure that will generate a mixed response from fans, but I thought it felt very Star Wars, and it wasn't pointless. It built up to the finale. And I kinda like Anzellans as well. I think they're pretty funny. I like their tiny ship as well. That did make me laugh when Mando's looking at it, knowing he can't escape. Okay, so what did I think of the supporting cast? I liked Zeb, as always. It was great to see him in a much bigger role than I expected, and Steve Blum did a great job reprising his role as his voice. Now, Sigourney Weaver's Colonel Ward was the most disappointing character for me, as I said earlier. Now I'll explain why. A legend like Sigourney Weaver in Star Wars was something that should have been epic, and it was just okay. She was only really there, I think, so we could have some X-Wings in the final battle, and so Dave Filoni could do something aside from sit there with his cowboy hat on. I think her character was unfortunately shoehorned in to replace Cara Dune, since Gina Carano had a very public falling out with Disney, which I think has since been resolved, so maybe Cara Dune will come back eventually, we'll see. Don't get me wrong, the bombing of the Hutt's palace was really cool. I always like me some X-Wings, but it could have been so much more. I think the dogfighting could have been longer as well. Actually, thinking about the flying vehicles, why wasn't the Imperial Remnant using TIE fighters? That seemed odd and such a missed opportunity to hear that iconic engine sound again. Have Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau been asked about this? Oh, and before I forget about the Imperial remnants, they didn't really have a lot of influence on the story. I thought they were going to have more to do and we'd get a mention of Moff Gideon or something. I know we saw him burn up in season 3, but was it a clone? Was it him? Did he survive? I don't know, there's some mystery around that. But after the beginning of the movie and Rotta revealing that Lord Janu is Imperial Warlord Coin, who is also a background character in season 3 by the way, he's captured not too long after that and handed over to the New Republic. Then the Remnant is just forgotten about. They're just there to set up the plot with the Hutts. I wish we could have seen more. Although if Disney really is going to retcon the sequel trilogy, maybe they want to distance themselves from the Imperial Remnant for now, because the current Mandoverse storyline was them setting up the First Order, so maybe that's changed. I also want to add quickly that I thought some parts of the movie were actually pretty scary. The aliens in the arena had some freaky designs, especially the one that splits its head in two and tries to eat Mando, and the Amani that patrol the waters of Nal Hutta are creepy too. The sequence where Mando battles them and the Dragon Snake is pretty intense, so parents be careful if you take young children. To summarise my thoughts on the movie then. Like I said at the start of this video, I thought it was good. Better than I expected anyway, I had a good time. Would I watch it again? Sure, why not? I think it hit more than it missed. I'll be curious to see how it's remembered in the long run though. I think making this into a theatrical feature, the first one in 7 years? It was a mistake. It was an odd choice and people were always going to have feelings on that. The timing isn't good either as the Mando hype has died down a lot. If this had been released just after season 2, or even season 3, there would have been a lot more interest I think. This movie would have been better as a Disney Plus release, or even just released in parts and called season 4. I also think that theatrical Star Wars films should have bigger stories and higher stakes. It is Star Wars after all. Save side stories and standalone stories like this for TV. Now the Mandalorian and Grogu is in the bag, let's look forward to Starfighter. I think that film will definitely add to the lore and I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait to see more. I'll finish my review here. I'm sure I missed a few things. These were just things from the top of my head that I tried to collect in a coherent fashion. I didn't sit in the cinema taking notes. But now I want to know what you all thought. Have you seen it yet? If so, did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Let's talk about it. And if you haven't seen it, will you go and see it? You can find me on Instagram as StarWarsPaul85. I'll leave a link in the description. Thanks for watching, take care, and may the Force be with you always.